Hello students, this video is for chapter 2, part 1, history, the rise and growth of the company power. In this video, we are going to discuss about the topic the Portuguese in India, the Dutch in India, the British in India and the French in India. Also, Anglo-French rivalry in the Carnatic, the British conquest of Bengal. So these are the topics which we will discuss in this video. If we talk about the political condition of India during 18th century, we can say that it was highly unstable. Now, Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal emperor and he died in 1707. Now, after his death, there was a war for succession for the throne of Delhi. And within the 50 years of his death, 9 Mughal emperors ruled in quick succession. Now, taking advantage of the weak center and attracted by India's enormous wealth, and the Persian ruler Nadir Shah invaded India in 1739. Also, Ahmad Shah Abdali invaded the India from 1747 to 1767. Now, because of this, India's financial and military strength suffered enormously. It also opened a way for other countries so that they can come to India. Now, as we already discussed that after Aurangzeb, no Mughal emperor was that powerful and they were failed to guard their sea coast due to lack of a strong navy. Thus, Indian coast became an easy trading destination for the European powers. Now, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese navigator, found out a new sea route to India. He reached the port of Calicut on 20th May 1498 with a fleet of 4 ships and 118 sailors on board. He received a warm welcome from the Hindu king Zamorin. Now, Portuguese succeeded in establishing their trading centers in Cochin, Goa, Daman and Diu, and they retained that companies till 1961. So, the Portuguese were the first who came to India for the purpose of trade. Here we have the picture of the sea route found by Vasco da Gama. So, you can see the Portugal and from there he landed on Calicut. Here we have the picture of Vasco da Gama. And also the Portugal's arrival in India. Here in this picture also you can see the Vasco da Gama's route to India. And also you can see the green part in India, that is the area where they were having their trade centers. So basically they were having their trade centers in Cochin, Goa, Daman and Diu. Now next were Dutch who came to India and they were attracted by the spice markets of the south to East Asia, and the Dutch undertook several voyages. The Dutch East India Company was formed in 1602. Their important factories were located in Masulipatam, Pulicat, Surat, Karikal, Patna, Balasore and Cochin. They exported cotton clothes, raw silk, molasses, opium and indigo from India. They further established their command on the paper and spice trade in islands of Sumatra, Java and Moluccas. They also succeeded to put the English out of Amboina, one of the Spice Island, in 1623. The Dutch company was opposed by the Dutch government and the company led to decline, as the Dutch government laid stress on maintaining its primacy over the affairs of the company. Here in the picture you can see some of the trade centers of Dutch. In this picture you can see the green dots are the Portuguese trade center and the yellow dots are the Dutch trade center. So you can see Cochin, Colombo, these all are Dutch trade center, whereas the Goa is Portuguese trade center, and the Spice Island, Amboina, which from where the Dutch threw the English out in 1623. So you can see the Amboina also here. Now third were the British who came in India, and Sir Francis Drake was the British navigator who undertook voyage around the world in 1579, and in 1588 the English got victory over the Spanish Armada. On 31st December 1600, Queen Elizabeth I granted the East India Company a royal charter. According to the royal charter, the company was having the sole right to trade with the East. A royal charter clearly meant that no other trading group in England could now compete with East India Company. Now in 1608, company made its first attempt to establish factory in India. And in 1613, the Mughal Emperor Jahangir issued a farman permitting the English to establish a factory permanently in Surat. So their first factory was set up at Surat. Simultaneously, other factories were also established, and they were in Madras, which is now Chennai, Bombay, which is now Mumbai, and Calcutta, which is now Kolkata. Here we have the picture of Sir Francis Drake, the navigator who took the voyage around the world in 1579, and Queen Elizabeth I, who granted the East India Company a royal charter giving it the sole right to trade with East. Here you can see the pink area is the British East India Company Center. So you can see a very huge part was occupied by British. You can also see the sea route of British travel to India. Now the last who came were the French, and the French company named Campec was founded in 1664. The first French factory was established in India by Francois Caron at Surat in 1668. Further, the factories were established in Mashulipattam, Pondicherry, Mahe, Chandernagar, Karikal, Balasore, Surat and Mauritius. Here you can see the picture of Francois Caron, who set up the first French company in 1668 in Surat. Next topic we have start of fierce competition. Now the establishment of Portuguese, Dutch, British and French factories in India and Eastern Islands resulted in a fierce competition and rivalry among them. And all the companies wanted to earn maximum profit. This led to a rise in the cost of commodities that were in great demand and ultimately reduced the profits. Now the spices like cloves, cardamom, pepper, cinnamon and fine quality of silk and cotton were the main objects of trade. These companies were having same aim, that was to earn maximum profit and to prevent each other from profitable trade. And for that, the companies engaged in constant conflicts. They also raised arms against the local rulers when they opposed the establishment of their factories. And like this, the politics and trade became inseparable. That means at first all the companies came for the trade purpose. They were only having the goal of trade. But later on, when they all wanted to earn the maximum profit and they were not able to do so, there was a need arise to get the political establishment. So here the need arose to become politically strong. So whichever country will able to make themselves politically strong will able to survive in this. So like this, the trade and politics become inseparable. So now to save their trade, they have to bring the politics. So like this, the need of elimination came up. That means every company has to eliminate their rivals. And for that, there were many wars fought among them. And here we'll read about the Anglo-French rivalry in the Carnatic. Now to have a monopoly over the trade in India and Eastern Island, it was necessary for British to eliminate their rivals, and the chief among them was French. So it was necessary for British to have a political control over the countries with whom they had trade relations. Now the conflict of trade interest between England and France finally ended with the three Anglo-French wars or the Carnatic wars that were fought in the Carnatic region and the other parts of Tamil Nadu. The wars finally resulted in the establishment of British power in India. That means the British won the war, and they finally established their power. Now from here Britishers started to increase their control, and in that the next step they took the conquest of Bengal. So in 18th century Bengal was a rich province and also flourished well in trade and commerce. And the English had established their factory in Bengal in 1651. The first factory in Bengal was set up in 1651 by the permission of Sultan Shah Suja, who was the Subedar of Bengal that time. Now the English got Jamindari of three villages, Sutanuti, Kalikata and Govindpur in 1698 from Subedar Azim Uz San. In 1717, the Mughal Emperor Farrukh Shiar granted several trading privileges to East India Company, and by this company became entitled to buy and sell anything from Bengal, paying without custom duties, and also became free to carry goods to and from Bengal. That means without paying the custom duty, they can take the goods to Bengal and from Bengal. Now Alivardi Khan kept a close watch over this, and he died in 1756. After the death of Alivardi Khan in 1756, his grandson Sirajuddaulah succeeded him. The English considered it the right time to interfere in the politics of Bengal, as the current ruler, that means Sirajuddaulah, was inexperienced. Also, he was very young and short tempered, and because of that, the Britishers found this time as the right time for the political establishment in Bengal. The English began to fortify Fort William at Calcutta and mounted guns on the walls of fort. Now, knowing about this incident, Surajuddaulah asked the English to stop fortification and pay the revenue, but they refused. The Nawab marched with an army of 30,000 soldiers and led the siege of Calcutta. He captured the company's officials, disarmed the English soldiers, and blockaded English ships. Now Sirajuddaulah placed Calcutta under the charge of Manik Chand and returned to Murshidabad. As Sirajuddaulah was powerful, he was able to break the conspiracy of the English. Here you can see the picture of Sirajuddaulah, the Nawab of Bengal. I hope you all understood all the topics taught in this video. Here I have some quotes for you. Be humble, be teachable, and always keep learning. And change is the end result of all true learning. So, what change have you made today with this video? Thank you, students.